Greetings and salutations. My name is OJ as always, and welcome back or welcome to another episode of the DBD-a-thon, a series of videos where I go over every single killer in Dead by Daylight, from Trapper all the way up to the now not so recently released Springtrap, where I talk about their lore, aka just reading their in-game bio, their gameplay / power, their teachable perks, and their design / my favourite and least favourite cosmetics for them, as well as, just some general opinions and thoughts on the killers in question. And today's object of obsession is none other than the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. Now, as I do for a lot of licensed killers, I think I did this for Freddy as well as Leatherface. I didn't do it for Ghostface, the last video, because he is technically not the one from Scream, so I don't need to explain my relation / history to Scream. But that is the idea of this little segment, where I explain my connection to the series that this licensed killer is from. And when it comes to Stranger Things, controversial take, or not so controversial take, I have watched Stranger Things up to season 4 in my own time, right? I don't really like anything past season 1. I don't like anything past season 1. I really like the first season because it feels like a Stephen King sort of horror, like a one-shot horror book, and it's really good. Like, season 1 is really good. There's a reason it took over the world, right? But from season 1 onwards, I feel like they should have made it an anthology series where it showed each different communities or groups of people being affected by the Upside Down in different ways. I just didn't really care for anything past season 1. There's obviously redeeming qualities to the future seasons, right? The stuff with Dustin and Steve in season 2 is really lovely, and you wouldn't got on that if we moved to a different group of people. But yeah, on a whole, I'm just not really up for it. And here's a controversial take again. Later this year, I think in November, we're getting a licensed chapter with 1 killer and 2 survivors. I am crossing my fingers that it is not Stranger Things. I really, really do not want Vecna in the game. I think he is abhorrently boring, both design-wise and potentially power-wise. I just don't care for Stranger Things. Would it be cool if we got, like, Joyce and Hopper as survivors? Sure, but here's a fun fact. You could have made them legendary skins. You did that for Will. Will? No. I forgot. Who was the legendary skin for Steve? I forgot his name. I'll probably pop it up on screen. But yeah, I'm really hoping that it's not Stranger Things in November. There's been rumors that it might be Resident Evil again, which controversial take. I wouldn't be too opposed to that, as long as it's like Lady Dimitrescu. If it's Jack Baker, I'll be a bit disappointed. Like, as cool as he is, design-wise and ability-wise, I don't think he'd be very interesting. But, a 9-foot-tall vampire woman with a Victorian aesthetic to her. Victorian? I might get that wrong, but Dimitrescu has more potential, both design-wise and killer power-wise. I think she could be interesting by including her daughters as part of her power. But that's me rambling about stuff in the future. The reason I'm rambling so much is because, here's a fun fact. I usually like to start these videos off by talking about the character's in-game lore, but Demogorgon has the shortest bio in this entire series so far, which, I'll read it to you now, but it is very short. A blooming mouth full of needle-like teeth for a face, large, curved, razor-sharp claws, and powerful legs to pounce on victims make the Demogorgon a frightening monster to face in any dimension. It is a nightmare of unrestrained, feral rage as it hunts down its prey and rips it to pieces, devouring every last morsel of flesh and gore, leaving nothing for scavengers. The creature is untouched by any sense of compassion or restraint. Looming over its victims, it shows no doubt of mercy, just the pure instinct of its unsatiable bloodlust as it delivers the death blow. A perfect hunter. The Demogorgon is a macabre testament to the horrors lurking in the Upside Down, and why it was a choice picking for the entity. Like, what do I say about that lore? It's literally just describing what the Demogorgon is. That's it. Nothing. I mean, you can't really do much with it, right? You're not going to tell an interesting, heartfelt tale about what is basically just an animal. As it said, it is just a predator, and not. Yeah, it's a predator. It's a perfect predator. What do you say about it, right? I get why it's so short, but Netflix probably had something to do with how short it was. I mean, they're the reason that this chapter or Demogorgon left the game for a time being, right? But yeah, what am I meant to say about the lore? There's nothing there. It's the Demogorgon. Woohoo! It's an evil killer monster thing, predator thing, running off instinct. Yeah, no shit. We knew that. Anyone that's watched Stranger Things Season 1 can tell that thing is a predator running on its just natural instincts. Like, yeah. What do I say about it, right? That's why I was yapping so much just a second ago about the possibilities of like Stranger Things Part 2, which again, I'm not interested. I really am not. As cool as Stranger Things is, and I know Stranger Things Part 2 would like bring in a lot of players, but come on guys, we already peaked. Five Nights at Freddy's is in the game. Highest player counts ever? Yeah. Easy peasy. Also, I forgot to mention in the Ghostface video, but most of the videos moving forward until I say otherwise will be recorded in the anniversary event, because that was ongoing when I got the footage for Ghostface, and I got the footage for everyone else. But anyways, with my very long ramble about my connection to Strange Things, future possibilities, and his very short lore, or its very short lore discussed, I'd like to move on to its power / its gameplay. Now, the Demogorgon's power comes in two halves. The first half, which is, the actual ability icon, etc., is its portals. At the start of trial, it has 6 portals, if I remember rightly, and it can place these portals down onto the ground and teleport between them. There's a lot of intricacies with it, like they can be inactive or active portals. When they're inactive, they're invisible to survivors and do not have an area of effect, thus cannot trigger Killer Instinct. However, once it uses an inactive portal to teleport from one portal to the other, it becomes an active portal. Active portals are visible to survivors and can be sealed, basically closing them up and meaning that they can't be used, and they have an area of effect around them of 4 meters. Survivors within that area of effect are oblivious and are revealed by Killer Instinct, whilst the Demogorgon is like channeling of the Abyss, which is the name of its second half of its power, which is Shred. Basically, it's able to charge up a power. Words, they're really difficult, aren't they? It charges up and opens its mouth, holds its claws out in like a forward motion, I guess. Its mouth opens up, so the clear indicator it's charging. And once you press the attack button whilst charging, you'll do a shred where it lunges forward at quite a far distance, and it does the same amount of damage as like a basic attack would, but it can also destroy pallets as well as breakable walls. I just hit my hand on the table. Ow. But when charging that power, it's able to see if survivors are near its portals or like actively destroying them. And survivors can, as I just said, break those portals and seal them completely. Now, I'm going to be real. I'm going to be completely real with you. This power is pretty solid. It's, I'd say it's quite a good beginner-friendly power in a way. It teaches you, the ideas of being able to use your power to teleport to places. That makes no sense. What am I saying? He's a beginner-friendly killer, at least I would think, because you are taught the basics of, powers that can be shut down or like disabled in ways, the abilities that some other killers have, such as map traversal, as well as killers that may have special secondary attacks like Pig or Blight. Demogorgon is a good killer to start with, at least I would think so. But, however, everything Demogorgon does is done better by another killer, that being Alien. I think Alien does everything that Demogorgon does, but better. Alien has easier to use map traversal with its tunnels. It has a better special attack with its tail. The only difference is, well, first things first, Demogorgon can have its map traversal shut down by survivors, which is pretty bad. Alien can't. However, Alien's special attack, that being its tail attack, can be, disabled by the survivors using turrets. But if you were to compare the two of them, I'd say Alien just does what Demogorgon does better, which kind of makes the Demogorgon feel kind of redundant in a sense. That might be a controversial take. Man, today's video is full of controversial takes, isn't it? Yeah, it might be a controversial take, but yeah, I don't know. Its power is fine. It's enjoyable. I like Shred. I enjoy using Shred. It's fun to jump off of the top of a building with Shred and just send yourself flying halfway across the map. That's fun, right? But yeah, I don't know. Its power is kind of a lot around the Demogorgon. Just feels kind of odd. It feels like a template for future killers in a sense. The Demogorgon feels like a template for Alien. And if I remember rightly, Demogorgon got taken out of the game around the same time that Alien was added, which may actually explain why Alien's power is as similar as it is to the Demogorgon. But yeah, ignoring the comparison to the Alien, its power is good. It's simple, it's easy to understand, and is relatively fun to use. He's if you make a tier list, I'd say he sits square in the middle. He is not bad, he is not great, he is good. Just simple, middle of B tier, literally in the middle of everything. Or maybe a little bit lower though, just a tiny bit lower, right? Because his map traversal could be deactivated, which kind of sucks. But yeah, it's fine power, it's fine, it's okay. I like it. I like Shred. That's the only reason I really enjoy playing as him, because I like Shred. You'll probably see it from the gameplay clips in the background. I don't really use the portals. I don't use the portals that often. I'm just here to shred things because it's fun. But anyways, with its power discussed, I'd like to move on to its teachable perks. The first of Demogorgon's perks is known as Cruel Limits, with a description reading as such. Your ties to the otherworldly manifest when your prey attempts to get away. Every time a generator is completed, all windows and vault locations are blocked for all survivors for the next 20, 25, or 30 seconds, depending on the perk level. You see the auras of the vault locations blocked by Cruel Limits for the duration, with a description reading as such. I meant flavor text reading as such. The specimen seems to be able to perform some kind of telekinesis that impacts the state of nearby objects, as if they existed in some other form within a dimension alternate to our own, which is a quote from Hawkins National Laboratory. This perk is okay. Bad? I don't know. This perk is very nothing-y. All windows and vaults are blocked for 30 seconds after a generator is completed. Okay. Unless you're in the middle of a chase and this perk goes off, or you begin a chase immediately after finding survivors from a completed generator, when is this perk really that useful? How many times are you just going to be walking around the map and then a generator pops, and then by the time you find a survivor, there's 10 seconds on the clock for Cruel Limits to actually be useful? Okay? I don't know, this perk's very nothing-y, and it doesn't really do anything. A lot of the descriptions I've been reading for these videos come from the Nightlight website, and even here it says, in the last 14 days, 0.28% of killers have equipped this perk, making it the 103rd most used killer perk in that time. Come on, no one's using this. It's just not, it doesn't do anything, and even if you do manage to get value from it, could have been using a different perk that didn't require you to lose the game to get some value out of it, right? But anyways, with that said, we move on to its second perk. Its second perk is known as Mindbreaker, with a description reading as such. Your distressing presence drains and weakens your prey. While repairing generators, survivors are affected by the blindness and exhausted status effects. Any existing exhausted status effects timers are paused while the survivor is repairing a generator. After ending the repair action, the survivor is afflicted by the blindness and exhausted status effects for 3, 4, or 5 seconds, respective of the perk's level. Blindness prevents survivors from seeing auras, and exhausted prevents survivors from activating exhaustion perks. With flavor text reading, the specimen's apparent telepathic ability can evoke feelings of dread and fatigue in nearby individuals. Another quote from Hawkins National Laboratory. Now, this perk is very solid. It is the shutdown of every exhaustion perk in the entire game. Life, gone. Sprint burst, gone. You cannot use any of exhaustion perks if this perk is around, and it tampers anyone that uses them. So if you say used sprint burst to run away from the killer and you manage to get away and you get on a generator, here's a fun fact: you're not going to be using sprint burst when the killer shows back up, because when you're repairing generators, the exhausted timer is stopped. It's halted completely. You use live to get away from a killer and you go repair a generator as well. You can't use life again if the killer shows up. It's a really, really good perk, and it manages to shut down every exhaustion perk in the game. The only perk I don't think it could probably shut down... Does adrenaline activate exhaustion? I don't remember. I think adrenaline's an exhaustion perk as well. It used to be really good at stopping... what was the name of it? The background player. The perk from Renata. Renato? I think his name's Renato, right? Don't quote me on that. And don't crucify me for getting his name wrong, please. But yeah, it used to hamper that perk a lot because people were using it to do like flashlight saves and stuff. But they would get off a gen and background player wouldn't activate because they're off a gen and they still have exhausted for 5 seconds. Like, it's a good perk and it shuts down every exhaustion perk in the game quite well as well. But with that said, we move on to its third perk. Said third perk is Surge, with a description reading as such. Your eerie presence charges the air and interferes with technology. Putting a survivor into the dying state with a basic attack causes all generators within a 32-meter radius to explode instantly and begin regressing. Survivors repairing said generators will scream, and generators affected by Surge immediately lose 6, 7 or 8% of their progress, with flavor text reading as such. The creature appears to have some unknown influence over electricity and nearby electronics. Another quote from, to no one's surprise, Hawkins National Laboratory. This perk is absolutely goated. One of the best in the entire game. It is almost a must run on any killer that downs with basic attacks alone, because it's free regression. It's free regression. Like, if you're a basic attacker like Trapper, Wraith, who else is there? You know what I mean. You do basic attacks to down people, this perk is good on you. Which, admittedly, there are a lot of killers that down with their powers, so it's not as good anymore, per se. Even, like, say, who's the most recent? Springtrap. It doesn't work super duper well on Springtrap, because a lot of the time you will be, like, using the axe to get kills, right? And Surge doesn't activate off of axe grabs, at least to my knowledge. But if you're a basic attacker, you're running this perk. If you're playing to win, you're running it, right? It's a fantastic perk and has been a personal favourite of mine for ages, though it's not my favourite perk in the game, which, well, we'll get to my favourite perk eventually. One day. Can't give you too many spoilers in advance, right? But yeah, Surge is a absolutely fantastic perk, one of the best in the game, and I'm very glad at one point, I think it's still a basic perk. I think it's still in the basic Blood Web, which is insane. One of the best perks in the game in the basic Blood Web. You know, actually, it's going to get even better for people that don't buy killers, because all of Pinhead's perks are going to be in the basic Blood Web. That is insane. He has arguably the best lineup of perks in the entire game. Arguably. The only other character is like Artist, but again, we will get to them when we get to them. But with all that said, Surge is a fantastic perk, and with that said, take a shot every time I say that. Don't actually. We move on to the killer's or Demogorgon's design / my favourite and least favourite cosmetics for it. Now, as I have done for previous licensed killer videos, besides Ghostface, I have to give all of my props to the people that originally designed the Demogorgon's design, right? Because obviously Behaviour didn't design the Demogorgon, it was whoever, the guys that made Stranger Things. So, with that said, Demogorgon's design is absolutely fantastic. It is a perfect, not perfect, near perfect creature design. It easily stands alongside some of the legends of creature horror, such as the Alien and the Predator. It's weird, like elongated arms that reach down to near its feet with the four-fingered hand and the claws. Those look awesome. It's weird fleshy, pale skin looks fantastic. I like the fact you can see like the dried blood marks on its hands because it is just killed that much. It's weird, like almost dinosaur-esque legs with the sort of where it goes in and then back out again. Awesome. And of course, I would be utterly remiss if I did not mention that its head opens up like a flower with all sorts of teeth inside. That is a absolutely perfect design. That single part, the opening flower head, unbelievably amazing. Genuinely cannot give the Demogorgon specifically enough praise, and it is part of the reason why I like season 1 of Stranger Things as much as I do, and why I think most of the seasons afterwards just didn't hit the same, because the Demogorgon is just that good. It's that good. Although it is, you know, it lacks, it kind of lacks, like, what would you call it, depth. It is a predator, and it's running off of natural instincts and nothing more, but oh my god, it's awesome. It's so cool. It's so scary and creepy. And in the first season, where they kind of like, they never really give you a, like, obviously near the end they show you it, right? They show you it doing its thing, but as all horror is, it's best when it's not shown. It's best when you get little teasing and hints of it, like that opening scene of Stranger Things where Will gets taken and stuff. Demogorgon, lovely. Absolutely fantastic base design, about as good as it gets for creatures, right? Outside of the alien, which is, you know, further down the line. But with that said, we move on to my favourite / least favourite cosmetics. Now, as I do for, you know, every single one of these videos, and a disclaimer, etc., when it comes to rating cosmetics, for the least favourites, I'm restricted to anything that is very rare or above. However, in this scenario, Demogorgon only has very rares, so I won't go too into depth about what the policies are. If you want, you can go look at a previous video for that sort of stuff. But anyways, with that said, my least favourite skin for it is Escaped Specimen. Although I was just glazing its original design, selling me a skin that's, you know, about a tenner that's barely different from the original, yeah, that's not a good look. It's the base design, but with chains and a few, like, what am I trying to say? What word am I looking for? Like, cuffs on it. Like, it's got chains wrapped around its body, and it's got a few cuffs on it. Okay, that's really boring, especially when you're charging me like 12-13 quid for it. This is bad. The only things I like about it is the fact that, like, its hands are a bit more bloodied and looks a bit bruised. That's it. This skin doesn't deserve any more attention than I am already giving it. So yeah, with that said, we are almost immediately moving on to it. But final thought, it's boring. It doesn't do anything with its design. It is boring. It's just the Demogorgon in chains. I don't care how good the original design is. You're going to sell me a skin that looks like this? I ain't buying that. Boo. But anyways, with that said, we move on to my favourite skin. Said favourite skin is the Twisted Demogorgon, which I like a lot, mostly because it's implied to be the entity's official tampering with. Like, this is an entity version of the Demogorgon. Like, the entity has itself gone in and just, like, messed around with the way the Demogorgon works and looks, and it looks really, really cool. I'm a big fan of the ribcage being partially opened to expose, like, these spider-like claws, which are obviously signs of the entity's interference. The weird sort of black armor that's, like, almost... yeah, it's like, it is armor. Yeah, it's black sort of rock looking armor over its body. Looks really, really cool. The back of its head having, you know, more entity-esque marks, tendril things coming out the back of its head. Those look awesome. It is just a really, really good skin. And I've only now just noticed this while recording. Its ribcage looks like a spider's legs, because the ribcage is more like pronounced on this skin. It looks like a spider's legs, kind of like clawed around the Demogorgon's body, showing the entity's influence on it. It's a really, really good skin. I'm very, very fond of it. But with that said, we are already, I say already, we're 24, I've been recording for 24 minutes, but we are already at the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed my rambles about the Demogorgon, as well as my issues with Stranger Things, and I hope that, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my rambles. But with that said, I hope you have a good evening, afternoon, or morning. I hope that you like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined, of course. And with that said, I shall see you in the next video, which shall be on none other than the Oni.